What's up, YouTube? So today we're going to be working on the old 1976 Chevy Love. It's a new project I started. The truck I call Vegas because I knew going in that the engine was stuck, so I took a gamble on it, got her unstuck, and we got her running. Cleaned up the paint patina because, you know, when a truck doesn't run or drive, that's the best thing to do is clean up the paint. So today we're going to get her back up and running, only this time we're going to see if we can get a little H2O to circulate through the engine and test a few other things out. Speaking of H2O, yeah, it's raining outside. Now the GoPro camera may not be picking it up. It might be a slight sprinkle, but no, it's raining pretty good. The best thing to do in a situation like that is go ahead and take the truck that runs and drives, stops, everything works, never sits outside in the rain because it's always in the garage. We'll park it outside, don't you see, and bring in the truck that doesn't run, it doesn't drive. We don't know if it stops. I don't know if the wiring's any good. It's got bad tires. So yeah, that makes sense, right? Sure. Now guys, if you have not seen part 3, I detailed this paint. Right now I'm drying it off. But yeah, she beads up. If you have seen part 3, I cannot guarantee the old Adams polishes, H2O Garden Gloss, which is what I applied on this for the finish. I don't know how long it's going to last. I can't guarantee it's going to protect the rust. But as you can see, she beads up. So let me dry off the truck and then we'll pop the hood and assess what we got to do. Alright guys, so we got the old Vegas truck in the garage and we're ready to do a little bit of work. The old 66 outside is not happy. She looks a little angry and it's coming down right now pretty hard on that rain. So what we need to do is unfocus the attention on her and put it back on the old Chevy Love. First things first, before I get this thing up and running, I got a few things I got to address, and one of them is a serious valve cover gasket leak. Now if you've seen part 2, we got this thing up and running and she coated the exhaust manifold nice and thick with some engine oil. So now that we've got a nice protective rusty coating of engine oil on the manifold, we can officially start removing the valve cover and replacing the gasket. Along with that, I got some new radiator hoses because the other ones, one was cut off and the other one was pretty old looking. I do have a radiator for it. I do have a fan. I have no fan shroud. And I did find a belt in my bin of scrap belts that I've got that I've accumulated over the years. That was going to work. When I did the detailed video in part 3, I found this behind the seat, but this belt is too small. It's a brand new belt from probably 80s or 90s. She's just too small. I believe she drives the smog pump, which is no longer existent in this truck. Once we get this put all together, we fill this thing up with water and see if there's any pinholes in the radiator. If we got to do some JB Weld bubblegum repairs, we'll do that. And hopefully there's no cracks in the block or warped head, blown head gasket. I don't know. We got to find this stuff out. So let me stop talking and let's get to work. Oh, these bolts are already loose. Find out this thing pops up. Oh. Yeah, we got about, I don't know, what is that, about 54% of gasket coverage. Well, I see a few things going on under here that might not be normal. You know what, guys? Let me go ahead and pull y'all in and show you what I'm looking at here. Alright guys, go ahead and lock in your chicken eye and let's go ahead and zoom on in to what we're looking at here. Oh yeah, well we got a timing chain. Yeah, that don't look bad there. We got whatever those tabs are there. It's probably lock tab thing. We got rocker arms. We got valve springs. We got chunkiness. Now everything I just described there, go ahead and take a guess of what does not belong. Yeah, that doesn't belong inside an engine. Nowhere. Not on the top, not on the bottom for sure. If you've seen part 1, you know what that oil pan looks like. We'll go ahead and put that chunkiness back off in there. And go ahead, unlock your chicken eye. Let's just unfocus on that and focus on this valve cover, which ain't really much better. Wow, we got some, yeah, I think I discovered why I was leaking oil pretty good. I don't know if y'all can see the difference between the two, but let me go ahead and show you. Here is a new valve cover gasket. You know, got tan color, pliable. This does not have any flex. This is pretty stiff. I don't even, ooh, I shouldn't have done that. That was, yeah. She has got a bit of crap in her. You know what, guys? Go ahead and be safe to say that this engine is pretty near almost nearly junk. Alright, took a bit of effort, but we got her cleaned up. I'm not worried about all that surface rust in there. I just need it to be nice and clean. Got the gasket in place. Put a little pucky all the way around. Just kind of letting that set up a little bit. I do come with new, I guess, washers or whatever you want to call it, so I installed those. We got the new end caps that come in the valve cover gasket kit. Those are in there, a little pucky on the ends. Clean that up with just a piece of scrap 150 sandpaper. So I believe she's ready for the cover. Alright. Yeah, there we go. Go ahead and put a little WD in these rubber grommets. I think this little bracket here, I think that's something for the air cleaner. Get too crazy with that. We'll let that pucky go ahead and marinate. Let that be what it be. I need to get me a reach over here. Got some vacuum line that goes from the carburetor to here. I need to see if I got a piece that'll do that. Alright, so what we'll go ahead and do is grab the radiator, install it, put the pulleys, the fan, and get the belt. I don't even know where I set the belt now, but get that belt, put it on. I guess we'll go ahead and install the fuel system. Basically what that means is get my empty coolant jug, fill her up with some high-powered 89 octane fuel, get it juiced up, see if this thing will fire up again. So here's the radiator that was with the truck when I bought it. That might be evidence of a leak, but we'll find out. We'll put a little hot water through this thing and circulate it and see what happens. I'll let y'all know right now, they do not repop these radiators, so if you ever need to replace yours is missing, you'll have to find out a way to get another one, maybe an aluminum one that's close to this size. Alright guys, we got some new hoses. We got an upper and a lower. And I was actually able to get these at O'Reilly's. They didn't have them at the store, but they were able to get them from the warehouse and have them at their store within a few hours. So, able to get these, that was good. This one right here looks to be the upper, as you can see right there. And then that's the lower. However, that's going to need to be cut to fit because she's rather long on both ends. And I'm going to have to get that all fitted. Now, I would like to take a survey on whether you'd want to watch me trim this down and install it. I'm going to assume no, because if I were in your shoes holding an iPhone watching the old mug here, I probably wouldn't want to watch me cut these as well. So, I'm going to go ahead and power off the camera, get the hose trimmed and fitted and mounted and all that stuff. We'll go ahead and get the upper one in as well. And I'll go ahead and, I guess, install the fan blade and belt and all that stuff. That way we can move on to bigger and better things. Well, we got the old radiator in, like I showed you earlier. Pulley and fan is in place. Belt is already installed. We got the new lower radiator hose cut to fit. And we got the new radiator hose right here. Now you might be wondering, well, Charlie, why didn't you put it on? Well, I went to, and she just came up a little short. That's the story of my life. I'm gonna have to return that. So I went ahead and installed the old upper radiator hose for now. So that's all in place. So now what I need to do is funnel down some H2O down that hole right there and see if it ends up on the floor. If it leaks out anywhere, out of the block, out of the freeze plug, out of the radiator. If it doesn't, then we'll go ahead and finish hooking up the fuel system, charging system, battery, and all that good stuff. And we'll see if we can't get this thing to run again. All right, sounds like we got a plan. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, guys, nothing to see there. No, nothing to see. No. We found a hole, guys. We found a hole. And she is a muddy one. Yep. Well, I think what I might do in this situation, obviously I need to replace a freeze plug, as you can see. But what I think I'm gonna do is push this thing outside and just turn the garden hose on in that radiator. That dirt will come out of that freeze plug hole. That way all that dirt ain't inside the block. And then I guess I'm on the hunt for a freeze plug. If I can't find one of those, I might try to get one of those universal rubber ones or whatever, that kind of temporary thing, just to get this thing keep going on it and working on it and see if this thing will run. Now you're starting to see why I named this truck Vegas. Whew. I'm down, I'm losing money. You're starting to see the white lining in my pockets. All right, guys, let me go ahead and push this thing back out, see if we can flush the block out through the freeze plug hole. Oh yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. Well, that's pretty much going to put me on pause until I can fix that freeze plug. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is jump in the old double sinks, since it's not raining anymore, and return that upper hose that's about 2 inches too short. That is the story of my life, I tell you. We got us one of those universal rubber freeze plugs there. I got that seated off in there nicely. Let's see if that thing holds water. I have a feeling this radiator's leaking. Oh, really? Well, tell me all about it. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything leaking down there. Guys, what do you see anything? Yeah, I don't see anything either. Uh-oh. It's leaking there too, ain't it? Where else do we have leaks? So far, that's the only one I see. I wonder if tightening that would do anything. Probably just blow the head off of it. These old factory-looking clamps, they rusty looking. I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. I think it's leaking out of this thing. Oh, that stopped it. Yeah, she's still leaking out of that. Where is it leaking from? I'm trying to understand. It's leaking out the top. Must be leaking on the backside. Ah, I found it. Can y'all see that, guys? Leaking out the backside. I'm just curious if the heater hook core is leaking. Oh yeah. I don't know if y'all can see that, but we got to bypass the heater core because she's leaking like a sieve. She's got the little drippy drip. All right, so it's a new morning and a new day. We're back in the garage, and what we're going to do today, we're going to get this thing back up and running. There are several reasons why. One of them was to test the coolant system. We already know we got several leaks in the radiator. They're all small. We got a heater control valve that looks like leaking, and obviously the heater core itself. So we got about 200 to 300 leaks, so that should be fine. It wouldn't matter if we didn't have any leaks. That radiator cap is no count. It ain't gonna hold any pressure. But I want to run it. I want to test the alternator. I want to test the water pump. Is it gonna howl? Is it gonna scream? Is it gonna circulate water? I don't know. And see if this thing will even stay cool. And the biggest reason why I'm doing it is, if you're watching my channel right now, 90% of you probably know who Derek from Vice Grip Garage is. And if you've been watching his channel, you know he does a lot of rescues from different states, cities, barns, farms, garages, shops, doesn't matter. He rescues them, gets them up and running. And a lot of times when they run bad, missing, smoking, down on compression, he does what he calls the Italian tune-up. Now what the Italian tune-up consists of, if you don't know, is basically a can of Berryman's. Eases it down the throttle of the carburetor, and he just feeds it the onions, as he calls it. I'm not stealing any of his lines. Trust me, I got plenty of my own. But we're just going to quote what he says. He feeds it to onions, and you've seen it. I've seen it. Smoke will go away or almost be gone. Sometimes the rings come back around. It starts running good again. It's idling on all 8. Or, you know, running on all 8 or all 6. Sometimes they're straight 6s. And it's pretty impressive. So, I want to try that today, too. And as well, never seen him use Seafoam, but I've heard good results. We might try that. When I did add engine oil in part 2 to this engine, there is 1 quart of ATF in it as we speak. I already got my battery. Let me go ahead and put that in, hook it up, install my fuel system, also known as an empty coolant jug filled with 89. And I'll get this thing, hopefully today, to fire right back up and start pouring a little Berryman's down the carburetor throat. That's enough said. Let's do it. All right, here we go. Fuel tank, return line. Got my battery charger hooked up, about to turn it on. Fuel pump should be working. There it goes. All I need to do is hook up the coil. That should light that up. Fire up the charger. Plug this in. Blower motor works. Where's my key switch? Serenity now. And that same thing it was before. Run a few seconds and die. Run a few seconds and die. I told you, buddy. I'd like to fire the fan up on that. Got a little warm right there. I don't know what happened, but... Do what, buddy?
What was that all about, huh?
I got the little blue truck running.
Can it...
Do what?
Can it drive?
No, it's not ready to drive yet. I just now discovered we got a little coolant leak. Oh yeah, that's leaking real good there. That's oozing out. Well, a good thing for that rust hole, it just drains right out into the ground. Well, that might be an easy fix if it was just two straight hoses you could bypass, but they got all these curved whoop-de-doos. I could bypass that. Heck, I never even checked to see if the alternator works. I'll have to do that here in a second. Fill back up with some water. It's going to leak out the driver floorboard, but I got a pan under there. I got my test light hooked up to digital test light, so it'll tell me how much voltage it's at. See if that alternator's doing anything. Fine, guys. Just fogging out the mosquitoes. Everything's on it. Nothing to see here. That's good. That's real good. I got better. I got a little better too, but oh, that thing came back to life. I did a compression test, that was the lowest one. I think that was a 50. I think there's no thermostat in here, but the water pump's moving water. It's doing something. Dan, there's no bueno unless there's something going on with wiring. You have to see part 2. That's why it's loud. Through the pipe on there. It's starting to get better, guys. Well, guys, she runs, she leaks, she smokes, and I'll be quite honest with you, it doesn't run very good. She pops and bangs when you try to rev her up. Alternator's no good. Could be the wiring, I'd have to look into that. You got number 4 cylinder, really hot at 600 degrees right out the pipe. That's pretty good. It was the lowest compression reading out of all 4. It was at 50, so it's probably at a good 120 right now. 2 and 3 are, you know, hovering around 320, 330. They were, and you saw what, 220, 210. So it's bumped up 100, 120 degrees. So, you know, maybe this stuff kind of worked, but I think this engine's too far gone for a can of Italian tune-up to work. I got a can of Seafoam I thought about trying, but I think I'm just gonna either save it or return it. I don't think that stuff's gonna do anything. Obviously, number 1 was around the 500 degree range, so that's pretty good. My guess the smoky culprits are 2 and 3, especially 3. Because number 3 was the stuck one. See part 2 if you want to check that video out, how I got her running. Don't know what oil pressure was, but she wasn't knocking, she wasn't pinging, she wasn't rattling. So it's got some oil pressure. What it is, I don't know. I guess I could have looked in the dash. It might have a manual gauge. What to do, what to do. In part 2, I did say I thought about doing a ghetto rebuild, basically dropping the oil pan, pulling the cylinder head, and pushing all the pistons out. I got one of those flex hones with the little ball stones, little dingle ball hones, some people call it. I was gonna run it through all four, put new rings on the pistons, clean up everything, do, you know, lap the valves and all that stuff, and put everything back together with new gaskets and seals and whatever it needed there, get it running. I did price most everything out on rockauto, and it was relatively cheap, but do I want to do that? Been having second thoughts. Oh yeah, a little booger weld job. See if I can fix that exhaust leak. Alright guys, exhaust plug is in. See if this thing will fire up. Man, that's much quieter, ain't it? This thing don't sound half bad. It's still a smoker though. Y'all can hear me from here. I got a vacuum gauge hooked up, sitting there right there on the windshield. If you want to know what she's idling at, vacuum. Keep in mind, we're smoking, killing mosquitoes as we speak. Let me pull y'all in, let me show you. Guys, are you serious? This worn out engine, stuck cylinder number 3, had ran since 1997, according to the registration. It's idling at 18 inches of vacuum. Smooth, steady needle. That's crazy. Look at that. That's idling pretty good. Sounds good too. She's a bit of a smoker though. We hadn't solved that problem yet. They're kind of messing with the timing. I don't know if y'all see that. Her down some. That's with this choke thing too. That's why I don't like electric chokes. Yeah guys, I've just been twisting screws and stuff. Kind of ran that one in a little bit. She kind of started idling lower, so I backed her back out to where she was. Here's my idle mixture screw here. Now down to 17 inches of vacuum, but still pretty steady needle. Overall, it sounds pretty good. If you've seen part 1 and 2, then you know what the oil pan looked like at the bottom. And we had a stuck cylinder. And you can tell she's a smoker, and I don't think that's going to clear up. The old exhaust manifold is leaking as well. And the reason I know that is because there's oil coming out of it. Pretty bad. I don't know how well this is picking up the mic. He's leaking. That's still good. I mean, that's still about the same at 320 to 330. That's about 340. Almost 350. Of course, there's the hot one. 595, 575, somewhere in there. Just idling away. Carburetor will need to be rebuilt. There's absolutely no accelerator pump in this thing. As soon as you give it something, it just falls flat on its face. But if you sneak into it like this, let me show you what I'm talking about. Try to feed her the onions just right off the hip. Man, let's see if we can do that again. I don't know. Guys, let's face it, I think this engine's junk. Nathan, what do you think? You think the engine's bad? He says it's smoking. It's pretty clear. Alright guys, well, last weekend was not a very good weekend. I didn't work on the Chevy Love last weekend. I'll get into that later. So instead, it was a gorgeous weekend. The old kids are kind of cooped up at the house and getting bored. And so I decided to take them to the park. Let them get their wiggles out, run all over the place, burn some energy. On the way back home, we're sitting at a stoplight. Well, the light turns green, and apparently I wasn't going fast enough. And the old girl popped me from behind. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but that tailgate ain't straight no more. Put your chicken eye on that thing and look at it. That ain't straight. Yeah, she folded up my tailgate. Instead of calling it Tailgate Tuesday, now it's Taco Gate Tuesday. That's what it looks like, a taco. I mean, look at that old football-shaped crease right there. Look at my tailgates all mucked up down here with her 2009 Nissan Naston, nasty-looking Murano. I mean, she pushed that gate in pretty dang good. And I'm not too happy about it. I mean, this is an all-original 57-year-old tailgate that had no dings, perfectly straight. And she tagged it good. Although, on a positive note, my truck sat so low at ride height and her car sat so high, she totally missed the bumper and just hit nothing but the gate. I guess if she would have hit the bumper, that would have pushed into my bed and ruined my bedside. No damage to the wood, not even no damage here. I was able to get the tailgate open, and when I did, the lower portion that pivots down there, kind of the half round shape, rubs into the bed. And I did have to back out of these latch bolts here just to get the tension off of the latch to open the gate. Guys, what do you do? I mean, if you daily drive your C10 or any vehicle for that matter, or if you drive it as much as I do when it's weather's nice and stuff like that, this is the potential chance you could run into some, you know, these drivers nowadays sitting on their phone, not focusing on what they're supposed to be doing, which is driving. Don't you see? That's why you behind that wheel, you're supposed to be paying attention to what's going on. Look at that stupid phone another time when you get to wherever you need to be getting to. Then you can see what you missed on tic-tac. But when you behind the wheel on the road, you youngins, and old ones, y'all see the old people out there doing it too. Put your phone down. See what you did my gate? Now, if this is some old napped up daily driving style car, I wouldn't care. But this is a 1966 Chevy truck, and she done ruined my gate. So I'm just now waiting on some claim adjuster guy, gal, to come by or call or whatever the deal is from there, whatever I got to do from that point, so we can assess this. So I'm not messing with the gate right now. I don't even want to touch it until all that's said and done. And they cut me a check for about 10 grand. Would be nice though. Hopefully it's a check for about 3 to 5 times more than what I have to spend on getting this gate fixed. But enough of my rant about my tacoed up gate. Let's talk about the Love. Now, as far as the Chevy Love, I took the original Radiator to a Radiator shop nearby me. Said he was going to charge me $85 to fix it. I get a little message this morning of a video from him, and he did a little pressure test, and this is the results he's found. Yeah. She's a leaking, ain't she? I told him just to scrap that radiator. I will not be picking it up. No charge to me. I put a question out to a Chevy Love Facebook group I'm on. They said the 66 Mustang radiator for the straight six fits perfectly in that old Love right there, or any Chevy Love. So I ordered one from RockAuto. Should be here this Friday, so hopefully this weekend we'll have a new radiator for it, and we can officially test the coolant system. I still got to bypass the heater core, but we'll get into that this weekend. Alright guys, I'll see y'all this weekend. Right there, next to my bent up tailgate, is a radiator for a 1966 Mustang. So that should work perfectly in a 76 Chevy Love. Alright, let's test fit it and see if it's going to work. Well. So yeah, guys, looks like we're going to have to trim these two brackets in the back if we want to make this radiator work. Also, another thing to consider is the height of the radiator. From the tank to the top with the radiator cap installed is 21 1/4. And so with the hood fully closed to the top of that cross member right there, we're just shy of 21 3/4 inches. So we're talking about less than a 1/2 inch of clearance. So guys, before I put the cutoff wheel of this new radiator, let me do a bit of research, because once I start cutting on this thing, I own it, and I don't want to own a radiator that ain't going to work in that truck. So if I can find something that fits just a little bit better within the same price range, I may return this and go with that one. But let me go ahead and do that research, and I will get back to y'all. Alright guys, here we go. It's the weekend, and before I bring the old Chevy Love in the garage, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and jam a garden hose right into the thermostat outlet, since there's no thermostat in it, and just run water throughout the engine block and let all that stuff flush out. Any bad, dirty, crappy water in there, push all that stuff out before I put that new radiator in there. So let me go do that, and once it's done, we'll bring her off in here. Much better. Alright guys, now that we got the Chevy Love in, let's go to the radiator. So keep in mind, this radiator is for a 66 Mustang, and the bracket, mounting bracket for it is on the back side of the radiator. If this was on the front, probably just be some minor trimming and I'd get this thing to fit. But we're gonna have, basically right here all the way through, we're gonna have to cut this off on both sides, and then we're gonna have to do a little bit of shaving on the front side, which I believe for the Mustang this would be the probably the shroud, fan shroud mounting spot. Got to shave that down probably maybe 1/16 of an inch to get this whole thing to drop in. I own the radiator now. It's all the way in there. Guys, I acquired a little buddy. He's not much help, but he is cute. Does not belong to me. He just showed up this morning, and he's been hanging out ever since. So I don't know, did I acquire a shop cat or not? I have no idea. But the only fitment issue I see right there, see how it's kind of pushed out? So what I'm going to do is pull that radiator back out, basically notch this section out, or maybe just cut the rest of that off, I don't know, and it'll push back a little further. Fan clears, got good clearance, but more than likely I'm going to have to probably go electric fan, but hopefully that fan for now will keep the engine somewhat cool. I don't have to worry about it right now, but we'll more than likely upgrade to electric fan since there's no shroud for this, and this is a different style radiator. Tell you what guys, something new seems to happen every day. I have acquired a cat, and he's inspecting my work. What do you think? You like that part? Yeah, I agree. We need to do a little modification down there. Alright, me and the cat are in agreement. Let's go ahead and trim that bottom, and we'll retest fit it. I guess I scared the cat away when I started cutting and grinding. I have a feeling he or she will be back. As far as the radiator, you can see right there, I've notched that out. Did the same on both sides. So now it sits back a little bit further on the bottom side. So now right here, I thought of using these to mount the radiator in place. These brackets came from a Durali dual fan kit that I have on my 66 C10. Never used these, made my own. Thinking about, I want to use these right here. I got 4 of them, so do I need all 4, or can I just cut that in half and just use the top and the bottom and just only use 2 of them? I don't know. I haven't decided that yet, so let me think on it and I'll get back to you. Well, so far guys, this is what I came up with. Went ahead and cut those down, and I did the uppers. I need to do the lowers because we got a little wiggle. But we shut the hood, and I see no contact on the radiator cap, no scratch in the paint or rust in the hood. So I think we're good. Nathan eating his breakfast looking at me. Where's the shop cat? Oh, you dropped some syrup. Oh yeah, spilled a little syrup on there. I guess the cat has a sweet tooth. All right, after several hours of getting everything to work out, the old radiator's finally installed. So let's take a closer look. Went in and took that bracket that came with the Durali fan kit, cut those ends off, worked out there. Now you probably could use the factory mounting holes, but since I got one broken here and one on the other side broken, I didn't feel like messing with all that, so I just made me some new holes. But more than likely, you can make it work with that and just use the factory hardware. The old lower radiator hose will fit. I had to trim a little bit off of here, and I think I need to trim probably another 1/4 inch right there, because she's still a little on the kinky side. And guys, I just don't do kinky, so we may have to adjust that just a little bit more, but I got to be careful because this flares out into an 1.5 inch outlet, so there's only so much meat before I run out. Now as far as the upper hose, this is a brand new one from AC Delco, because the other Gates hose, the second one, didn't fit. It was too short, but it was too short for the factory radiator. It actually might have worked with this setup, because I think this is a little wider here. There is no clamps. I do have clamps for it. Just got to remove that thermostat housing and actually put a thermostat in it, because it does not have one. Same thing on this side. See what I'm saying down there? I don't know if y'all can see that. Another broken bolt. So that's why I didn't even mess with all that. There you go. A 1966 radiator for the straight 6. Fits in the Chevy Love with a few minor tweaks, cuts, and making your own brackets. Even the factory hoses will work. You just may have to trim them and modify them. So I will put a link in the description for this particular radiator, because I got this from rockauto. Alright guys, now we have to bypass the heater core before we can even run this thing again. And I got to put a thermostat in it. I got work to do today. As you can see, my helper is taking a nap. I'd like to join you, buddy, but I got stuff to do. Alright guys, got the lower radiator hose adjusted. Looks a lot better. So the alternator's back on it, which does not work, so that's good. And right here is a box of parts that I got from rockauto.com, one of which is a thermostat and a gasket. So let me go ahead and remove that thermostat housing and we'll get her installed. Dang, ooh, that ain't good. Oh, don't break in there. Easy. Y'all reckon that bolt's crusty? So this thermostat gasket I bought, it's pretty interesting. It's got a backing on it that with this little flap you can peel off, and it's super sticky right there on that surface. But I don't think I'm gonna put the sticky side on this side, because this is kind of, we got some pitting and some deep scratches and stuff, and I don't know if that's going to seal off very well. But after wire wheeling this up and cleaning this, I took a big sheet of sandpaper, 220 grit, and just went to town on the workbench. Had a flat surface, and I got that surface nice and smooth. So I guess I'm going to put the sticky side here, and then put the pucky on the gasket, and adhere that to the intake along with the thermostat, you know. I think that'll seal up much better. So you see what I got to do. So this is where it gets challenging. Most classic vehicles, bypassing the heater core is not that big a deal. But when you got 1, 2, you got this hose right here, It goes all the way under the intake, some outlet in front of the cylinder head. Then you got all that going on over there. This ain't just no simple disconnect two hoses and just loop them back. So I'm gonna have to figure out the best method to bypass this as efficient as possible. So let me do that, guys, and then once I do, I'll let you know what I'm about to do. Guys, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I actually got confused by this hose right here. It actually connects to a hard line and goes straight to the brake booster. So now that I knew that, I basically just need to disconnect these two hoses, which this one's 5/8, 3/4 inch. The 3/4 inch is the one that goes all the way up front. So I cut that off and just double clamped it, and we're way past torque spec on these clamps. I mean, I ran them down hard because we're going from a 3/4 to a 5/8 tubing, so hopefully that seals off. I totally forgot I have a snap-on coolant pressure tester. So what I want to do is go ahead and fill this up with water, maybe a little bit of coolant, but I think I'm just going to do straight water. Let's pressurize the system and see if there's any leaks. I have, since all the spark plugs are out, I can actually use my bore scope and look inside the cylinders. If I see any water sneaking into any of the cylinders, that's a wrap. Game over. This engine's junk and I ain't dumping any more time or money into it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed, and I'll try to somehow cross my elbows. I don't know what I'll do. I might rotate my eyebrows, whatever I got to do for a little bit of good luck, because I need some luck right now. If that passes, there's no leaks internally and there's no leaks obviously externally that we can see, then we can proceed with actually running the engine again, getting some heat in those cylinders, and see with actual, with the coolant system doing its job and actual heat going into the cylinders, keeping it really warm, maybe those rings break free and they do their job. I don't know, guys. I'm just hoping for the best right now. This is the Vegas truck, and I'm down a little bit on the monies, don't you see? So let's go ahead and fill this thing up with water, pressurize the system, and we will go from there. All right, guys, we're at 15. That hose is holding up. Hoses are holding up. Radiator's doing its job. We're still holding the pressures. Yep. All right, let me get the bore scope. See if I see anything in there. All right, it's been about 5 minutes and it's still holding that steady needle. I don't see nothing in the cylinders. Getting wet, so I think it's safe to say we can actually run this engine again and actually put a little heat off in the cylinders. All right, guys, it is a new morning. It's actually Monday morning. I should be at work, but I'm here with my newly acquired friend. Found out yesterday that is the next door neighbor's cat, but for today he's the helper around here. Don't know how much he's going to help me with the truck, and I have a feeling once we start smoking out the neighborhood, he's going to leave. But before we smoke out the neighborhood, I got a new set of spark plug wires from rockauto.com, and based on this box, this thing has been around for a while. But I paid $3 for them wires, and so I don't care how long they've been sitting around. They should work just fine. They come in the color blue, so you know it's going to even work better than the orange ones. All right, let me get those installed, set up the battery, fuel system, ignition system, get all that set up. You've seen that before. I'm not going to waste your time with that again. And then we'll pull the trigger, see if we can make some smoke again. There's the new spark plug wires. Look pretty good. I'm not really in all this blue stuff, but like I said, $3. I ain't passing up on that deal. All right, we're all set up and ready to go. So let me set up the camera, see if this thing will bust off and run again. All right, here we go. Hey, busted right off. messing with it sometimes. I think this engine's just junk. Let's try that again. I got my bowl here. Hopefully that'll keep it from spilling over. I don't know why it's doing that. That may not be a good sign. Can I get this thing to stay running? Oh. Guys, it's official. Zoom in close. I've made a name change, and it's just now been made. Finely Tuned Idiot Garage. You want to know why I'm going with that name? I bet she runs now. Guys, I had to shut it off. This thing was filling up fast. I don't know what's going on. Guys, I had to drain that down. I just kind of filled it up a little bit and started growing again. And the next thing you know, just all this suction just dropped. So I guess the thermostat open must have had a big air pocket stuck in it. Still a lot of trash in that block. See all kinds of sediment in there. Guys, am I wasting my time and money on this thing? I mean, I don't know. This engine needs a lot of work. I don't know what happened. Number one ain't firing like it used to. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Let's face it, this engine's junk. It's not going to come around. We're not going to get no vice grip garage, Italian tune-up, or any kind of liquid tune-up to fix this. I mean, you saw all the pressure coming out of the oil cap there. That's some serious blow-by. Those rings aren't doing anything. Apparently now number one's dead. She is sparking. I did check that. Put the spark plug right on the valve cover. Zinc, zinc, zinc. Zap, zap, zap. She was doing her job. Oh yeah, Vegas truck. Emptying out my pockets. So guys, on a serious note, I'm standing at a fork in the road. I could go right or I could go left. Now what does that consist of? Going right would basically mean continue working on this thing. Like I said in part 2, do a poor man's rebuild. I already got the dingle ball home. I got a shop cat now, apparently the neighbor's cat, but he'll help me out. No, he won't. He'll just make noises and jump all over the truck like he's about to do right now. Yep, there he goes. I think what his job is, he just checks everything out and lets me know what he thinks. And going left would mean engine swap. Now I'll tell you right now, engine swap doesn't mean what you think it means. It could mean find another engine, like an Isuzu motor that doesn't smoke and clear out the mosquitoes and hits on all 4 cylinders and runs halfway decent. Or it is what you think it is. Find maybe a Vortec V6 or a small block Chevy. It'd be the only 2 engine swaps I think that would be cool. More than likely I would go V8 just because I'm not a V6 person. Yeah, well, Shop Cat said it. He's not a V6 person either. So that probably just narrows it down to some kind of small block Chevy. And you can find them relatively cheap, but what does all that entail? I got to figure out the pros and the cons and the cost. Who's calling me? Just one of those spam calls. At any rate, what does that entail? I don't know what the cost it is to put a small block Chevy in one of these trucks. It's probably not a whole lot of money, especially if you can get a pretty good cheap motor and transmission. You know, I got a welder. I could probably fabricate some stuff, make some stuff. I think there are some people that make motor mounts and things like that. Now I don't even know if that radiator I just bought would work. I probably could sell it and get some of my money to maybe the Chevy Love group, but I don't know. Maybe it would fit, maybe it would work. So these are the kind of costs and things I need to assess, because my whole idea with this truck when I bought it was to make some content. You know, had a stuck motor, now it's unstuck, now it's running, try to do everything on the cheap and then turn around and flip it. What is this truck's value as it sets? Imagine the engine runs perfectly and it moves and it stops. What's its value? I don't know. I'm not a big Chevy Love person. Whatever the value may be, I may be losing money, I may be making money, or I may break even. So those are things I need to assess. Now, if I was keeping this truck, then it wouldn't matter. Small block Chevy for sure. Be a stock motor, maybe just a mild cam, and we'd make a tire frying machine out of this thing. We'd just smoke tires, and 185, 75, 14s would be smoking all day long every time this thing would take off at a light. But guys, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap this video up, because I've assessed what I needed to assess. Now I need to figure out what I need to do, because like I showed y'all earlier, we know the carburetor needs to be going through. That's a given. We know we need a new alternator. Looks like the water pump's doing its job, but if I tear into the engine, I'm probably going to replace it anyways. So these all costs I got to consider. All right, that pretty much wraps up part 4. You see where we're at? I just got to make a decision on what I do. So stay tuned on this channel, like, subscribe, stay up to date, because I don't know where I'm taking this truck. It may be good, it may be bad, it may be ugly, but we're going to do something with it. So stay tuned for part 5. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Like I always say, until then, thanks for watching. Any final last words for the channel there, Shop Cat? No? I think old Shop Cat's got the right idea. I think I need to take a little nap and sleep on it. Hold on. My snapper ain't snapping today. It's just not a good day, guys. Let me go ahead and shut her down.